All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We have our Public Pension Oversight Board meeting today on February 13th in room 131. We appreciate everyone for being here. So right now we'll call it to order, and Madam Secretary, if you'll please call roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong. Senator Elkins.
Present.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Present.
Senator McDaniel. Senator Neal.
Present.
Senator Nemes.
Present.
Senator Wilson. Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Camuel.
Here.
Representative Duval.
Here.
Representative Fleming. Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative Petrie. Representative Tipton.
Here.
Auditor Allison Ball. John Hicks. Victor Maddox. Representative Hale. Co-Chair Higdon.
Here.
Co-Chair Thomas.
Present. We have a quorum? Yes. All right, we do have a quorum and can do business. At this time, I'll ask everyone to stand and Senator Funky Fromeyer is going to lead us in the pledge, but remain standing where Representative Johnson is going to lead us in a prayer.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together in this room to serve our constituents, but more important than that, we thank you for the opportunity to serve you. We pray that you'll guide our hearts, minds, and our thoughts as we go through this process. We pray that you'll guide us so that we can do our very best for our constituents. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. All right, we do have a quorum, and make note, Representative Hale is here also. We do have a quorum, so if we could get a motion to approve our minutes in a second. Motion. A motion by Representative Johnson. The other second came quick. James Allen Tipton. Representative Tipton. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. All right, both. So the minutes are approved, and we have 3 bills on the docket today. So we will just go right down in order. We will have Representative Callaway, if you want to come up, and if you have any guests, y'all have been up here before, so please make sure that green light is really bright and pull it kind of towards you, and introduce yourselves for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Emily Callaway, and I represent Jefferson and Bullitt counties.
Brandon Lincoln, the state FOP Vice President.
So we all know that it benefits our cities and counties, their law enforcement agencies, to be able to rehire retirees from our police department. And we all know that we need to protect our pension funds for those currently serving and those well-deserving. And thankfully, in 2017, our pensions were finally put into the majority's capable, responsible hands, and we've been good stewards as a legislative body through this committee to make sure that that's happening. The safeguards and the spirit of the section of KRS, this section of KRS that we're talking about today, for our retirees, as intended, this bill honors the spirit of which this was crafted. So I'm going to tell you quickly what it does, and then I'll tell you what it doesn't do. What it does, it amends statutes specifically crafted, again, for rehiring of retired police officers. It changes one of the qualifiers from 20 years to 15 years of service for the retired police officer. The terms of employment will change. This bill, under this bill, they may offer private benefits. So cities and counties may offer private sector benefits to our retired police officers if they hire them. That would bring them off of the retirement system. And so we see that as kind of an equalizer. We focus on very specific agencies because we've had conversations with these agencies. So we're looking at FOP, KLC, LMPD. My local Louisville Police Department approached me about this, some of the members there. So that is who we're focused on for this. What this bill does not do is does not allow for double dipping of our benefits. It does not concern the tier system. It doesn't concern the rehiring statute. It doesn't the retirement statute. It only concerns the rehiring of these retirees. It doesn't have any quantified fiscal impact. It does not impact, again, agencies that are not included in this specific statute. This is Brandon Lincoln with the FOP. Thankfully, he's been working with me. KLC has been working with me. We want to make sure that our local cities and counties have the ability to provide private insurance, and we want to put active individuals who have retired from the police department, we want to put them back to work. We want to allow for that, and moving that 20 to 15 marker, we know of specific individuals this will help to make that happen, and agencies who will be able to accommodate.
Mr. Chairman, committee, thank you all for hearing us today. Again, this is all about recruitment and retention of our retirees. As you know, specifically to Louisville and some of our other larger departments, we're just north of 300 folks short of our actual staff that we should have. So being able to bring these folks back and have the ability to budget and have the ability to provide them insurance benefits and other items would be a huge asset to us. And not to mention the smaller counties and smaller cities that are looking to pick up, just a handful of folks that would go a long way to help them as well. And as Representative stated, this is going to be an optional thing. It's not a mandate, which is also key, I think, in this bill. So if you can find a way to make a budget for it and plan for it, it should be a recruiting tool to go out and try to hire the best of the retirement pool. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. We do have some questions. My co-chair does. I'll start with him and.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Callaway, good morning, and thank you all for being here. I guess our number one question in PPOB, any piece of legislation, the question is, does it create an unfunded liability? And I know probably the thing that sticks out the most is when you decrease the retirement time from 20 years to 15. I haven't seen an actuarial analysis on that, but just from where I sit, it looks like that could qualify as creating an unfunded liability.
Well, currently we have individuals who are leaving anyway, so they won't be paying in anyway. So I feel like this would benefit and actually put them back to work, and it would help our local sheriff's departments and all to be able to hire these individuals without, again, placing an extra cost on them. So I don't think we're seeing, some of these people are not working, are not continuing to work. It hasn't been worth it. Some of the leadership in my local area a few years ago caused a mass exodus of some of these really valued police officers. And so I want to be able to help remove some barriers to get them back into it. So that's the reasoning behind it.
The part you bill about the insurance, I think that's good. I think the 15 years, is, in my opinion, when it comes to the Senate, would be a non-starter. But the insurance part is fine. And one of the things that I'll take an opportunity to do, and I've made no bones about this, and everybody knows that my intention is that as this bill, on your bill, to require all the systems to pay normal cost. Not the actuarially required contribution, about 31%, but normal cost was about 8%, that the employer make that contribution. And there's reasons for that. We need to make sure that our pensions are funded. I see individuals in the room today that have lobbied for COLAs for a long time, and the Kentucky statute says we'll give them a COLA when it's 100% funded. So we're starving by not paying something. I'm not saying they have to pay the full amount. It's a good deal for the employers to pay that normal cost. It's a better deal to pay nothing, but it's a good deal to pay normal cost versus the actuarially required contribution. So thank you. It's a good bill, but we're going to tinker with it a little bit if it gets to the Senate.
I'm not opposed to that.
Thank you.
All right. Senator Funky Fromeyer.
You might imagine that I'm very supportive of Chairman Higdon's thoughts on this, so no surprise you brought it up before I did. This is part of the KERS, hazardous retirement.
KERS and CERS. Both.
Okay, so if you're expecting or inviting a person back in to the employment workforce, then in that process, will they be contributing a portion of their paycheck into the retirement system?
No, they will not.
Okay. And then Senator Higdon has maybe suggested, but I couldn't see it in the bill. Is there an expectation that the employer will pay anything into the retirement system based on the language in this bill?
If they don't meet this standard, they would.
Help me understand that.
So this sets very strict parameters for rehiring, and the qualifier is 20 years at this point. So if they haven't worked the 20 years, then none of this applies. So if they get rehired, then the agency has to pay into that retirement program. The employee does not. If they're in this, then the expectation is the employer would not. But again, 20 years of service.
And then this particular bill is asking to move that from a 20-year service to a 15-year service in order to come back into employment, but also be eligible, an optional opportunity to participate in the insurance, but not participating in the pension. They're not contributing, nor is the employer contributing.
No, so I'm gonna have to get some help on that one, because my understanding is when they are rehired, if they meet this, then the agency is not required to pay into anything. They will continue to receive their retirement benefits. Okay. It will not allow for any kind of double dipping, so they cannot receive the private benefits. They would not receive when they retire again, when they leave again, they would not add to their retirement. It would be a standard that whatever they retired with, they would keep that. But as far as the pension versus insurance, that's where I'm a little foggy. So I can look into that. I'll see exactly.
That would be helpful. And I think because we're the Pension Benefit Oversight Board, I think part of what is super concerning is if we've brought a person into a position that's needed and we're bringing them from a retirement pool, but we don't have any new people paying into that retirement pool, we're going to continue to struggle fully funding the retirement pool that is meant to stay healthy and vibrant to pay those retirees.
Right.
So I think that we'll work with you and maybe puzzle with you on how to strengthen that so that we're not in the meantime creating an unfunded liability, but more importantly, weakening a pension system that we're diligently working towards strengthening.
Sure, and like I mentioned, these have retired and would not be contributing anymore anyway. They would not be, or they actually have quit. So they will not be, some of these will not even be receiving benefits because they didn't meet the requirement for retirement. So you're losing individuals who would be paying into the retirement program anyway. So if we want to get some individuals back into work, this is a way to lower a barrier. But absolutely, I'm open to discussion about it. Again, this is outside of my wheelhouse. I've had some really good advisors on this and done a lot of studying on it, but it is a complicated system, and I want to honor it, and I want to honor the pension, and so I'm glad to work with you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So saying that, we are gaining questions here in just a sec. And Representative Callaway, I know these are tough questions. You know, it's almost a 40-page bill, and with certain aspects of it. I do want to let the members know that KPPA is here with Ryan Barrow, and he's going to come up and they're going to come up and kind of maybe help with some of these questions. So please take note. So after we hear from all three of these bills, please stick around because some of the questions could get answered at the end also on this. So, but hang tough for a sec. We're gonna see if these next four questions here are maybe not too tough. So Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you today, Representative Callaway. I have the benefit, this is the second time I've heard this bill. We heard this bill in state government, so I've got a little perspective. And just want to make sure we don't have any confusion. We're not changing right now. A Tier 1 employee in hazardous duty for full retirement has to work 20 years to get to full retirement. We're not changing that. All we're saying is that if you've got somebody who did not make the 20, but they retired with 15 to 19 years of service, that a local law enforcement agency, sheriff's department, whatever, could hire that individual back. That's basically all this bill is doing. Now, the other question comes to Senator Higdon, Co-Chair Higdon's point. We've kind of been saying that, let's just take CERS because it's probably going to be the largest group in the CERS system. A local police department hires somebody back under this program. They don't pay into the system versus hiring somebody brand new off the street that would be paying into the system. Now, if they were to continue to pay into the system, they would come back as a Tier 4 employee, make that normal contribution, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, Senator Higdon there, they would be paying that normal rate, which is around 8%. But in your bill, you're giving the local entities the option of paying a private, like a 401k or whatever. That's kind of how your bill is drafted. So the question is, should we do it that way or stay consistent with what we've done in the past where when they do come back, they are a member of the retirement system. They're starting in a new tier. And actually, in that case, they would be drawing a second retirement if they're vested after 5 years. Co-Chair Higdon, did I get that right?
I was doing a sidebar there. Repeat that last
right.
part of it. I was catching up on something else.
Basically, if one of these people's rehired between 15 and 19 years, if we stay with the practice of the employer is going to continue to make the normal cost contribution, they would actually be coming back as a Tier 4 employee. And they would be vested after 5 years and have that second retirement. Is that correct?
No, they would still come back. Whatever, if they started in Tier 1, they would come back as Tier 1.
They would come back as Tier 1. Now, let me ask the question: if they gained that extra 5 years if they stayed 5 years after coming back, would they then change their pension benefits when they retired to full? I'm just asking that as a question.
Yeah, my understanding is if they came back at 15 years, then they would pay. They would make their contribution, their 8%. The employer would pay their third. No, I'm not right. Okay, I apologize. I'm not right.
No second accounts. Those two.
Okay, no second account. So
no second account. Okay, I just want to be clear on this.
We'll get further
Representative Callaway, I've been on PBLB for a lot of years. You are right. This is very confusing.
It's always as clear as mud. Excuse me for talking out of turn there, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I was feeling sorry for you fielding some of these questions because it's like, okay, these can be tough questions. So
I appreciate them. I do.
let's hope they soften up a little bit. Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, thank you. So Rep. Tipton's question got my original question, but I want to follow up on what Senator Funky Frohmeyer asked. So I understand her position that if we have retirees hired into these positions, are we not allowing new employees to go into these positions? So could you speak on that as far as availability of individuals to fill these spots? Are we preempting a new employee from coming in, or are we so short on employees that both will happen without anyone who would be qualified being looked over? I guess is following up on that question.
As of right now, they're not knocking the doors down to get in and do these positions. And Sheriff's Office for example, in a courtroom, we would love to have somebody who has years of experience in the field to come and be a part of the courtroom process and be a presence there for the sheriff's department. I don't see this as competing in any way. They would fill a little bit different positions, and we are. He said 300. I mean, I've heard 1,200 short on staffing. So, I don't see that as an issue. Again, this is a small number of individuals who it would affect anyway. But thank you for that concern.
Representative Camille. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I apologize. Just wanted to add, so for example, in Louisville, we have a 10% over the previous year's sworn officers. So if we have, to make numbers easy, 100 sworn officers the previous year, we can have 10 rehires. So depending on what that number does, we'll fluctuate our cap on our rehires. And I think other agencies have that as well. And although our numbers for new hires and recruit school are going up, they're trending up, we are still fighting the qualified applicants versus the number of applicants. So we're working on that as well.
All right, now Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Callaway, thank you for bringing this. And Brandon, really happy to see you at the table. It is highly complicated. I'm going to ask some questions that are that I hope are not complicated. I'm just trying to clarify. If we're changing from 15 years from 20 years of service to 15, is there an age minimum? Like you have to have 15 years and be so many years in? Okay. Oh, may I ask another? Sorry.
Yes, go
Thanks.
ahead.
The other is if they're returning to work, so if they have retired with 15 to 19 years of service and they're returning to work in a same or similar capacity, are they also drawing their current pension while receiving?
Sure, they would continue to get what they.
There's no freeze on it. Okay.
No, but they could not double dip. So they couldn't continue. They couldn't add to it. It won't fluctuate. It won't differ from the point of retirement.
Okay.
Just to add something on that. So at 55 years, it doesn't matter on years of service. And at 50, it would need to be 15 years of service.
Okay. Would you
For tier one, each tier is going to have a different number set from what I understand. But at 50 years, it's 15 years. And at 55, it's no amount on tier one.
But again, that's retirement. That's not a qualifier for this particular section, this statute, just to be clear, for rehire.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And this doesn't change the system. This is just pertaining to rehires. So,
100%.
Representative Johnson, see if you can bring us all together on this one here.
I think
There
I'm going
he
to. I
is.
think all my questions have probably already been asked. I will try to summarize the conversation with a general comment, and that is, beware ye all legislators who dare bring pension legislation to this committee. So thank you for your efforts, and we'll see where we go. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was a good roundup. Anybody else there? And if y'all would, if you could please stick around, I think, gaining a little knowledge from Representative or Ryan Barrow here in a sec at the KPPA. All of them there will definitely help and stuff. So saying that, y'all hopefully soften the blow for our next two to present. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, no,
No,
Emily, hold
Representative Callaway, I
okay.
apologize a while ago. You were looking to me for a lifeline, and I was doing a sidebar.
And he's been here forever.
And I didn't hear the question, so my apologies. And there is some confusion over this 15-year. My first looked at it, I thought, rank and file officers and firemen and would be. If they were on path to retire, get their 20 years in, they said, well, we'll retire at 15. But I think there's going to be some qualifiers in that, and we need to better understand what you want. And I know I don't fully understand it. I need, it's clear as mud to me. So we'll get some explanation, some further details on that to see if it's something that we can live with. I don't fully understand it, and I apologize.
Oh, thank you, Senator. I think my hang-up was pension versus benefits. So the new employer paying into the pension program versus for benefits, if that made sense. So that was the hang up for me. I didn't separate the two. It was paying into the program, the retirement, the pension. It's all one to me.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank y'all. Hang close there. Representative Lewis, you brave enough to come take the chair? Come on up. Bring whoever your guests are, and please, once again, state your name for the record. Make sure that bright green light is on there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Chris Lewis from House District 29.
Brandon Lincoln, Kentucky State FOP Vice President.
Jeff Taylor, Legislative Affairs Director for the Kentucky Professional Firefighters.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first of all, this bill is intended to address two issues of concern to newly hired firefighters and police officers who work for CERS agencies that use a probationary period for retirement coverage. Currently, no employee or employer contributions are paid during the probationary period, so the employee is not provided retirement service or coverage during that employment period. While on probation, the employee is not provided in the line of duty death and disability benefits in the event of disability or death due to a traumatic work event. So the bill would create a new option for certain former probationary employees to purchase service credit for time spent in a probationary position. Secondly, the bill would redefine employee, member, and participating solely for purposes of benefits payable to a person employed in a full-time or probationary period to include employees who become disabled or die as a direct result of in the line of duty death or disability-related injury. So I think the impact, quite honestly, is minimal. This isn't mandatory. It's not a requirement. So this would simply allow departments or agencies, if they so choose to do so, they could pay for this service credit for the employee, or they could pay for it as a recruitment tool for officers and firefighters, or within 6 months of the end of the probationary period, the officer or firefighter could on their own come back and pay for the employee portion and the employer contribution portion themselves. And then the in the line of duty death, I mean, this is going to, fortunately, you know, we all hope that this doesn't happen, and it does happen very infrequently, but I just think it's the right thing to do. These folks are out there serving our community. They're putting their lives on the line for us. And if they are killed or disabled in the line of duty, I think that it's the right thing to do to offer this to them. So I'm happy to, if my guests have anything they'd like to add.
I'll just add, very little. We did work diligently with all stakeholders, KLC and FOP and Fire are joining forces on this. And as Representative Lewis said, it provides some flexibility for the employee and not a mandate on the employer to go back and purchase that service credit. In short, a person that's held out of the participation of the KPPA during probation, it just simply makes a 25-year career 26 years with respects to retirement and benefits. So, and I think the LODD side of it really speaks for itself. If an officer or firefighter is injured, while in training, which happens, or right after what we call drill school, and they're still held out of the system, then they're lacking those death and disability benefits that would be entitled to them otherwise. So I think as compared to the last bill, it's fairly simple. For you, Senator Higdon, we do have a fiscal note on it, and it is marked negligible. So we're also happy with that.
That was a good lead in to, I'm going to have a question from my co-chair, Senator Higdon.
Well, thank you all, Representative Lewis. Thank you. And this is a good bill. I think the Officer Wilt situation in Jefferson County, had he been on probation, just a new officer, he wouldn't have been, covered under a lot of things. So I think, that brings attention to that line of duty death while on probation. And that's certainly, we need to take care of that. And also the buying back that time for the probation period, it's a pretty high standard they had to do. They had to pay the actuarially required contribution not only for themselves but the employer's portion. So it's it's an easy thing. Not an easy thing to do. It's going to take some financial I guess, discipline to get that taken care of and to pay it off. I get my question. Like I said, I think the bill's great, and I saw the fiscal notes are negligible. It didn't say indeterminable, which is good. I hate that word, indeterminable. If it mentions taking care of that in first couple years. I guess we have a lot of employees out there now that served a probationary period, and it's delayed their retirement by a year. Are those that have been, 10 years into service, 15 years into service, under your bill, can they go back now and buy their time for that probational period?
No, sir, I don't believe it allows that.
Okay. Would there be a fiscal note, or would there be a problem with doing that? Because we get calls all the time about employees that want to go back and buy, and I tell them, you might not want to buy it once you see what it's going to cost. But
yes, sir. I think it would. To your point, it would be extremely expensive once you're that far in. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing that.
It's a good. We'll ask a question, I guess, and find out if it's. I don't see where it would be a unfunded liability, but
yes,
it would be very expensive.
Yeah, it would be. I imagine.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and it's a very good bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, so this is just an easy one. On page 8, line 3 of the bill, I just think the language reads a little bit tricky. I had to look at it several times to try to figure out what it means. So at first I just thought a word was missing, but then just bring it to your attention that you might want to review that and have the drafters tweak the language a little bit to read a little more smoothly.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It is a little confusing.
no worries.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, you're getting softball questions
I
here.
know, this is great, right? Sorry, Representative Callaway.
Representative Camuel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for bringing this bill. Following up on what Senator Higdon, he actually covered most of what I wanted to ask. But what I was going to follow up with was, is there an anticipated, like an expected cost to purchase the airtime or to purchase that service credit?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you want to address that? Do you know? Yeah.
So that, again, consulting with the stakeholders and giving heavy consideration to those concerns, I do want to at least tell you, from your question, Senator Higdon, just to divert for just a second, the original bill that was drafted provided the employee the right to decide if they wanted to purchase that credit, and then it would require the employer to put their contribution in it as well. So that was tweaked in consultation with KLC. Furthermore, from that, we did make it a requirement of 6 months. We did not make it retroactive purposely because we didn't want the employers to be on the hook for both the cost of what they should have paid and the actuarial required contribution on top of that, the interest that or investment opportunity that was lost. And so we did that in consideration to what perhaps KPPA may be concerned about. So it is a limited bill. It doesn't have a retroactive aspect to it, although I guess we would remain open to that. The employee itself can purchase the time, and there's some ability for them to finance that over time. So it's not a write a check today, opportunity for them, but it is again, back to the employee. There's other aspects of the bill because there are significant parts of our industry that are classified non-HAZ. So that is one reason why we made it an employer option, so they can offer it to a police officer, but they don't have to offer it to the non-HAZ worker. Name your field. So hopefully, I think I answered your question. I hope. Okay.
You did. Yep. Thank you.
All right, Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jim, I appreciate your effort in going through it. I'm over here. Mr. Taylor's looking like, where now? Very easy. I do appreciate, I think Mr. Taylor brought this to my attention some time ago, and Representative Lewis is very kind to dive into it and so forth. Put the numbers and the logistics and the timing aside. This pretty much was an easy decision for me because I believe that once you raise your hand, man or woman, and swear an oath to do something, we owe that obligation to that individual, and they will go above and beyond and burning houses to in line of fire, and I think it's an obligation that we have to these individuals that go through that process. So that's where my heart is. That's where my head is. I'm glad the financial impact is minimal. I think we can work through the logistics and the dynamics of all that. But I think it's just an obligation that we need to adhere to. And I just want to make sure that I just want to comment and say I appreciate them bringing this forward. And like I said, I support this bill. Thank you.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Yes, Representative Lewis, I thank you for bringing this bill. I've had a number of people reach out to me about wanting to buy that probationary time. And I didn't know, is this in all lines of duty that a person during their training, during their probationary time, is not receiving service credit?
Not necessarily. That's an employer option. So to give you an example, in the city of Louisville, which is where I work, firefighters are started in the KPPA from day one. So the day they're hired, I believe FOP is held out of the system while they're going through what they call their recruit class, recruit school, and then their participation starts afterward. There are inherent, obviously, risks associated with drill school, as we call it. We're still climbing ladders. We're still going into fires and teaching them how to put those out. So there are some heavy considerations with respects to risk involved with that. But it is up to the employer. It is their option to decide when they start participation for those employees. If that answers your question.
And just to piggyback off that, thank you, Jeff. We talk about inherent risks. I mean, we've had recruits on accidental shootings when we're on the firing range. We've had some pretty severe car accidents when you're trying to teach them evasive driving. You could get done with doing your POP certification and come in and have a heart attack and die. So obviously, it is an important thing that we're going to continue to work forward on this to try to go forward with our employer to get it covered from day one. And then obviously give the option to the employee to be able to purchase that if that's not the case. So thank you.
Senator, follow up. There, again, heavy consulting with the parties around the table, and so what we learned was, and where we started was, frankly, is if start them from day one, if the employee should not make probation, then those portions of contributions that went to the KPPA would be refunded back to the employer, right? Because they get nothing for it if the member doesn't make it. We learned through KPPA, once the money goes into the system, it cannot be refunded. So that's kind of why we're where we're at. So it was crafted to be put on what they call the omit side, omitted service after the fact, and it allows them to purchase it at the employee or employer's election.
Great, and I would imagine.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm the question about what would that actuarially be calculated. I recognize that perhaps not everyone is going to be paid the same, so it depends on how they're compensated and such. But I imagine that we'll put a little pressure on Ryan Barrow to respond to some of this as well. But the complexity of how do you pull those dollars back out of an invested system, and maybe they're held in some sort of an escrow account until a person has succeeded in the workforce. But I get the dynamic here, and I recognize your point. When you're training, as Representative Fleming said, you took the oath. You said you're out there, you're on the job. So I'm very supportive of that, but I also think maybe we need to look a little further down the road so that 17, 19-year person can buy back that 3 months or 6 months that they were in the training. Those are some of the questions that I'm seeing coming throughout my Senate district, that maybe this would help us address that in a little more complete manner. But thank you so much for bringing this. This is complicated but important.
All right. Any more questions, comments, anything? Gentlemen, if you would, can y'all stick around a little bit? And we have one more presenter, and then we'll get KPPA up here and muddy it up even more. Come on up, Stephanie. I'm sorry, Representative Dietz. And we have new guests, so please, if you would, make sure the green lights are bright and kind of keep the mic close to you and introduce yourselves for the record.
Yes, good morning. Stephanie Dietz, represent the 65th District.
Gracie Kelly with the Kentucky League of Cities.
Brian Diener, City Administrator with the City of Edgewood.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. House Bill 589 stems from conversations with city officials across the Commonwealth who are struggling to maintain adequate firefighter staffing levels. Recruitment and training take time, and when seasoned firefighters retire, cities can lose decades of experience and institutional knowledge overnight. Current law allows cities to rehire retired police officers under structured conditions. However, that same flexibility does not exist for firefighters. House Bill 589 simply provides parity. This bill creates clear statutory authority for cities to rehire retired firefighters who meet strict eligibility requirements, including at least 20 years of service, compliance with required separation periods, no pending administrative charges, and no prearranged return-to-work agreement prior to retirement. Employment would be limited to one-year contracts, renewable at the city's discretion, and compensation must align with the city's standard pay scale. The bill also limits the number of retirees a department may hire based on department size, ensuring this tool supplements, not replaces, the existing workforce. Importantly, the intent is to provide cities with limited staffing flexibility without creating a new retirement system liabilities. The bill currently does not require additional employer retirement contributions or retiree health reimbursements. However, we remain committed to working with this board and stakeholder groups alike, like the Firefighters Union, to ensure the final structure is fiscally responsible and sustainable for this new program. At its core, House Bill 589 provides a reasonable, structured option for cities to retain experienced firefighters when needed. We are happy to take any questions. Pause.
You said that happy there. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Wait, maybe everyone asked their questions from previous presenters. Oh, nope. Wait, here's co-chair. Go ahead, Senator Higdon.
Yeah, thank you for this bringing this bill forward, and we've had some conversations, not directly with the sponsor, but some other folks that one of the things that I've been trying to do is as this comes forward is to have the contributions not be free totally of contributions, but contribute the normal cost. The employer contribute to normal cost. And I understand under this the firefighters are willing, the fire departments are willing to do that, and that's great. And that's all I ask is I think it's a good bill. SROs, sheriff's departments, police departments, it's only makes sense that we do this with the fire departments also. And so that's my only comment. And so I understand that would not be a problem, and that's good.
Yes, Senator, as drafted, this bill does not require any employer contributions. However, in negotiations, we've agreed for this new program for these employers to be required to pay the minimum contribution for this new program. However, as we've shared in conversations with you yesterday, we do not support that for the police program, but for this new program for the firefighters, we are amenable to that.
We'll continue that conversation.
Yes, sir.
But thank you all, and thank you for this bill. It's a very good bill, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Representative Tipton.
I'm fine, Mr. Chairman. Senator Higdon addressed the issue I was going to ask about.
Well, look at here. All right. Anyone else? You're going to
make one last.
Okay, wait. Senator Higdon's back.
Back to the police, and I think in our conversations, I think there's some big concern about that. So I think a good compromise is we would grandfather all these retirees that are currently not paying, that the cities and counties and sheriff's departments are not paying a contribution, to change that to grandfather those in, and any new hire, any new person into this program, these programs would pay the normal cost.
Yes, and we are willing to take that to our KLC Board of Directors.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? No? Thank y'all so much. Hang around.
Thank you.
We're going to get all this brought together here. KPPA, if y'all would, Aaron and Ryan, if y'all would take a seat, and you definitely know the routine about the microphones there, but I'm going to lead into just to get y'all kind of going there because you've heard these three bills. So in 2008, the General Assembly passed HB 1 that prohibited a reemployed retiree from earning a second retirement account. Provided the breaks in employment were followed, the employee could go back to work and they wouldn't pay an employee contribution since they weren't earning a second retirement account. However, the employer was required to contribute to help continue paying down the unfunded liability of the system and in some cases reimburse the systems for the cost of health care. Is that a correct summary of 2008?
Hi, Erin Surratt, Deputy Executive Director of KPPA. That is correct.
That is correct. Good.
Ryan Barrow, KPPA, but yes, thank you.
All right. Well, you heard the three bills on the table. How do they affect our systems, or will they, or won't they? Or so, please give your opinions.
Yes, appreciate the time. We can do this however you want. We'll start in the order they were presented with 213. Appreciate the discussion on the financial side. That's something we focus on heavily as well. We mark that in our actuarial analysis as non-material, and here's why. The current exemptions for retired, rehired to come back and not pay into the system, that is not being changed as we read the legislation. So basically, the number of seats are not changing. There won't be an increase to that. It just allows additional people to qualify to sit in those seats. This is heavy in the benefits side, so that's the layman explanation, but I'll defer to Aaron on some specifics.
Yeah. No, I think, Brian, you covered it. It doesn't change the limitations for the number of city police officers. There was one change from the 10%. It's 20. If they had over 100 police officers, then the limitation is 25, the higher of 25 or 10% of what the average was in 2015. It's been changed, I think, to say the immediately preceding calendar year, but I don't think that would be significant in the number if there were additional. So it didn't change the limitations. It just opens up a bigger pool for the employer to choose from. And the only other thing I would say is regarding the health insurance piece that allows the employer the option to provide that. I just want to be clear that the retiree could not take insurance from both the retirement system and the employer. It's one or the other. And that's true today. That couldn't happen today.
Great. Thank you for that. And Emily's shaking her head back there. You're like, all right. Confirmed what I said. You said it perfectly, didn't you? Ryan, y'all want to move on to 516?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. 516, obviously this is an option for an individual that wants to, say, come off of probation. The key financial component for us is that the employer and this was stated, just to put a fine point on it, both would be paid into the system. So there's a little bit of timing difference, right? Because you would pay it in after you served and you wouldn't pay as you go. But paying in both the employer and the employee essentially makes it non-material as well, because that contribution would be paid, albeit at a later date. Anything to add, Aaron?
Okay. Nope, that's good.
Good description. We can understand it. It's like pay now or pay later. Senator Funky Fromeyer has a question on maybe that aspect.
And that's helpful. So when we were trying to acknowledge that, what if you go further down the road and you allow a person to buy that service credit years down the road, and they paid both the employer and the employee, is there some concern? Is there a reason why we haven't considered that in the past, and how adding that perhaps to Representative Lewis's bill would create an unintended consequence?
Yes, so I'll use myself as an example. Worked for the city of Lexington. I was on a probationary period. If we were to go back and allow me to purchase that probationary period 15, 20 years ago, obviously that would be 15 or 20 years we wouldn't have the money. So to be clear, the bill limits it to 6 months after probation. So I would not qualify for this legislation. However, using me as an example, if I elected to buy it now, clearly that money would not have been invested for 15 or 20 years. So we would have to rethink the actuarial analysis if that were the case. Again, we're not advocating either way, just focusing on the math. We would not have had that money. So, the amount of money and the timing of the money both matter.
Co-chair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian, thank you. On that actuarial analysis for if we allowed it to go retroactive way back, I'm sure that that would not be a big issue to figure the actuarial analysis, what that money or the assumed rate of return from the time of the probationary period would be in the actuarial analysis. I assume that could be done.
Yes, we would come up with a number. It'd be predicated on how long you can go back, et cetera, some assumptions, but we would generate a number. But again, there are a number of assumptions. How many people take part in this? That would be a tough one to tease out. Is it 100%? Is it 50%? And it could be a big dollar figure. Now, in here, if the employer pays it, how many employers would be willing to pay it? Obviously, most people would take the advantage if their employer paid it. So we would come up with some numbers, but there are a lot of assumptions in that scenario that we would have to think through. But we would do it.
And I know you're going back, 15 years and trying to buy it and pay the actuarial required contribution, it'd be a huge number. And I guess my next question is, how many new staff would you have to hire to answer all the calls and calculate this for everybody because you would, anybody that had a probationary period, they'd want to know how much it would cost them to buy that.
Yes, sir.
All right, and I had one. Can people buy probation service credit now? I mean,
no.
Some
let's
some,
do the caveat.
some, yeah. Some, tier 1 and tier 2 members who are vested can purchase probationary service. It is not calculated the same way as the new service purchase that's in this bill. It is 100% of the actuarial cost, which is a much higher cost than paying the employee and employer contributions on the compensation that's paid. Tier 3 members cannot purchase probationary service. So the people that this bill applies to, because they would be it's current people on probation or within 6 months of probation, or any new hires that are on probation, they would all be tier 3. They would not be eligible to purchase that otherwise.
Yes, so not in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, I tell you what, I have you want to Senator Funky Fromeyer.
It does feel a little bit like a can of worms that if we open this up to allow for purchases of that probationary period, are we opening up an enormous can of worms? And I'm thinking about Social Security is based on your best 35 years of earnings. Well, if you go 35 years ago and figure you earned $15 an hour, but its current net present value works out to be a much, much bigger number. So I think that's the number that if we're allowing people to go all the way back to that probationary time versus 6 months, I think we're talking about versus 6 months. But that still creates a whole lot more friction and heartache than perhaps, I mean, it just, your thoughts, are we opening up something that is going to cause your phones to ring off the hook?
So we are responding to the current bill as drafted with the 6 months. So hypothetically, the longer you would go, you would obviously have lost earnings, lost interest. So we would have to see the language as crafted, and then we would respond, as Senator Higdon said. We would do the math associated with that. But it's simple math. Longer time, less money invested would have a financial impact.
And if I can, Senator Funky Fromeyer, to answer your question about the backlog, yes, it will. It would increase the backlog. There would be a significant number of people who would want to take advantage of that, I believe.
Yeah, which on, I think, number 4 in the actuarial analysis, that would be the administrative cost.
And like 454,000 people or something. It seemed to be a fairly enormous number.
This would affect the C system. So we pegged it just under 70,000 could avail themselves of this.
Yeah, the 444,000 plus includes all of our retirees and everyone. So this is just for the CERS. So we included the active and inactive employees of CERS.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. How about the last 589? If y'all want to just kind of go over that one real quick, and then I think there's some ending questions, kind of summarizing all of it.
Yes. So this one, we were asked earlier in the week to come up with the actuarial analysis. We are still working on that. I learned early in my career, don't give a number unless you have confidence in it. We have some preliminary numbers. So there will be a fiscal impact for that. Obviously, to my previous analogy, this would be additional chairs that would now get exempt from paying in the system. Again, layman explanation, but our benefits expert can go into some detail on that, but there will be a fiscal impact, and we are working on that right now.
Yeah, I think Ryan covered it. It is contributions that are currently being paid to help reduce the unfunded liability that won't be paid in the future.
Gotcha. We do have a question or two. Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First comment on House Bill 516. I would suggest leaving it at 6 months. Let's see how we do. We can have conversations in the future because, like you say, you're really opening up something there that we really don't know the full impact for. A couple of questions on these, and it would actually relates to House Bill 213 and 589. All these plans are subject to Social Security, correct? None of these are Social Security replacement plans. So the people, they would continue to be paying in Social Security and receiving additional Social Security benefits. They go back to work.
I cannot say that for all positions. I do think there are some positions that report to us that do not pay into.
Okay, that there are Social Security replacement type plans. I just wanted to clarify that. What is the current, I know a lot of these are going to affect the C system. Just for refresh my memory, what's the current rate for hazardous on CERS, that contribution rate?
Is that the 30?
Yeah.
It's in the 30s, isn't it?
I'm sorry, I had the 25. I was looking at 25 data. Last year for CERS it was 38.6.
So it's a significant cost to those employers. And I bring that up to point out that Senator Higdon referred to paying in the normal cost, which is around the 8%. Now, that's in the C system. For those employers in the K system, it's done a little bit differently because they pay in the normal costs and then they make contributions to the unfunded liability. Would any of this apply to KSP at all on the rehire, or is this strictly in the C and the K hazardous?
House Bill 213 and 589 do not apply to state police.
Okay.
And to your point on KERS, that is true for KERS non-hazardous. That's the
you're right.
Yes.
That's non-hazardous.
Yes.
House Bill 8's been a few years ago.
Yes.
Trying to remember all that. But my point being that even if they were required to pay in the normal costs, 8% versus 38% is a pretty good bargain. Thank you.
All right, we are winding things down. Senator Funky Fromeyer.
So we're having budget conversations all day, every day. And in the meantime, we're receiving a lot of phone calls about how do we add a cost of living adjustment to a number of people's pensions that aren't currently receiving them in their pension. So can you guide me through KERS, hazardous, non-hazardous, SPRS, TRS, and CERS? Who is receiving a cost of living adjustment in their pension payout?
Well, none of the systems that we administer at KPPA, which is CERS, KERS and SPRS are receiving a COLA currently. Last time they received a COLA was in July of 2011.
Okay, that's helpful.
And to clarify that, I think it's the only educators, the TRS system is receiving that, and some of that's pre-funded, but that does not include judiciary or us either. So on that. Senator Higdon.
Yeah, if you will, go back and explain help me better understand the unfunded liability created by 589. I hear where you're coming from. I'm just wondering how that's. We've never talked about that before on these other groups that we've done it for.
Yes, so this would create, believe the term was structured amount of seats that would not pay into the fund on those positions. And
Yeah, it wouldn't create an unfunded liability. The retired or employed contributions that are collected are used to help pay down the unfunded liability. So if you're not having the contributions, those additional contributions, those millions of dollars to pay down that and the interest earnings on that in future years, you would be removing that from helping to pay down that liability.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So 8% would help. If normal cost was contributed, that would help pay it down.
It would still be applied to help pay down.
Thank you.
Any amount of money to pay the unfunded liability would obviously decrease it. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have Chairman Hale. Some of these are hidden your way afterwards anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just make a quick comment if I could, please. House Bill, as the chairman of the House Committee on State Government, House Bill 213, when Representative Callaway, when that was assigned to my committee, she approached me and asked me about this bill. And she can tell you this, I honestly didn't exactly fully understand it. And I even today don't, Chairman Higdon. Today I don't fully have a full grasp of it. I think I have a pretty full grasp of it, but not entirely. But when she explained that to me, she gave me a very good, detailed description of what she was wanting this to accomplish, which was to help with the problem of in her area, her specific area, of being able to get people back into those positions because of shortages. We brought this before in even speaking to leadership on this, we brought this to the committee a couple of weeks ago, and she presented it to us. I think there was only 2 pass votes. There was 0 no votes on it, and it was almost I think 17 or 18 people voted in favor of it. And she did a great job there, and I believe this is really a good bill, Representative Callaway. I just want you to know that. I want to pick up for you here just a little bit. You had some tough questions today, but I foresee this going to the House floor, and I foresee this passing on the House floor. And I just hope and encourage my friends at the Senate to take a good close look at this bill, because I think it's very needed. I think it's tremendously needed, and I think it's a good bill. And I certainly know there will probably be some tweaks to it, and different things might occur, but I just hope it remains in the form that it was intended to be, which was really a good piece of legislation. And the other 2 bills have also been assigned to our committee, and so I'm still waiting for an ask from these people. One of them did ask, one hasn't yet, but I think they probably will. But anyway, I just wanted to say for Representative Callaway, thank you for your bill. Sorry we made it so tough on you today, but you did a good job explaining it to me and in committee, and I think you did a good job here today. And I just wanted to go on record saying that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, also. All right. I just had 3 quick questions. I'm sorry. I know it's almost lunchtime now. So how many programs have been established that are now exempt employers from paying contributions to the system?
me take that. Okay. The school resource officers are all
SROs.
exempt, those positions. County police and sheriff police through the counties, those are all exempt from paying the retired reemployed contribution, health insurance reimbursements, and as of last session, the post-secondary institution employment of retired police officers also is exempt. All of those positions.
Okay, and that leads into, so what would be the impact on the systems with all these exemptions?
With the current exemptions that we have,
Yeah.
We don't have an actuarial impact on that. I have some numbers of the people who are number of people who are exempted in those positions.
Okay.
If you are interested in that.
I think that's okay. And then the last question is, what's the impact if we ultimately no employer contributions are paid on reemployed retirees?
We would have to circle back on that
Okay.
to get that number.
Great. All right. Anyone else? Oh, Co-Chair Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Hill, thank you for your comments. I had a good conversation early on, which I probably should have done with Representative Callaway, to better understand what she was talking about on the 15 years instead of 20. That was what threw me. And so I think if you all could help me and the rest of us on this panel to better understand exactly what the consequences or benefits are for reducing the 20 years to 15, and because I didn't fully understand it, I still leave here today not fully understanding it, and so if you would do that, I would certainly appreciate it for myself.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. As Aaron outlined, there's a certain amount of exemptions currently. That is not being changed with this legislation as we read it. Those exemptions that are in place or not in place are not being changed. This would just allow a larger population. So the way I view it is this is a certain population that would meet the 20-year requirement, eligible to fill those slots. This would just increase that because people with 16, 17, 18 years would now be eligible to go and sit in those seats for those current exemptions. It's not changing the total exemptions. It's just changing the availability of the workforce to be able to take those roles. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I understand there's some folks that would, have time in and they reach a certain age and they could do this. But does this fundamentally change the way we do retirement, allowing people to retire after 15 years versus the 20 years?
So my read of the bill, it does not affect your eligibility to retire. This is just to come back to post-retirement. So the rules are in place for retirement. They're not being changed. After you retire, this is just changing your rules to be retired and reemployed. Again, a larger population. So if I retire 25 years and I decide I want to go back to the workforce, I would, under current legislation, 20 years, I'd be eligible. If I only work 17 years and retired, with this change, I would now be eligible to go back and sit in one of those seats and be reemployed.
Would this be a encouragement for hazardous duty folks to retire early rather than working their 20 years?
I'll take that. Yes, what I was going to say, I don't see that this would change any retirement patterns for our members in deciding on when they would retire. So no, I do not think it will change retirement patterns with this change. Change.
And that was my concern that we're saying 15 years versus 20, but obviously they would take a big change and big difference in benefits if they did that.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're so close. Senator Elkins. I thought that was going to be the.
If we would quit answering questions, we would quit creating questions.
That's true.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to commend Representative Callaway on presenting this bill that obviously everybody on this panel is still struggling to understand, including myself. So it does seem to be a good bill. I have a couple of questions. One really simple one that you may not be able to answer first. This bill is designed, or the intent is to help us to rehire retired officials, I guess, law enforcement officers. Is that a pretty good understanding of the intent of the bill?
Yes, I would agree.
How many do you think this is going to impact? How many retired law enforcement officers that are now at 15 do you think we're going to be able to rehire? Do we have a number on that, or a thought, an analysis?
I might look to the bill sponsor for that, or Kel, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I have.
I apologize for dragging you back up there.
In the Louisville area, I know of at least 3. And again, they got out a little bit early, right under the mark. They're still considered retired. They are indeed retired. But because they did not meet this rehiring statute qualifier, then they cannot be rehired.
So if there's only 3 we're sure of in Louisville, we're not talking about 1,000 or 2,000 people, I don't imagine. Because my concern is, and it may not even be a legitimate concern, but this is more probably for Ryan. If we are rehiring someone who's retired and they're not contributing to the retirement system, we're I guess restricting a new person coming in who would be contributing to the retirement system. So we're replacing someone who could be contributing with someone who's not contributing. What impact does that have on the retirement system?
So we didn't necessarily see that financial impact because, again, the number of exemptions are not being changed. This would just allow more people to fill those slots. And as Aaron said, I think your question's kind of core is changing the pattern. We didn't, when we looked at this, we didn't see it changing retirement patterns. We didn't see it creating people incentives to retire early, et cetera. There could be one-offs, but we didn't see that pattern change.
Thank you for that. I think it's a good bill, and I appreciate Representative Hill's comments on it as well. I'm going to continue thinking about it, but I think it's a good bill and probably moving us in the right direction. So thank you for bringing the bill forward.
And Senator, you are right. The questions generated more questions. So, Senator Higdon.
One last question, I promise. Representative Callaway, just the three individuals you were talking about, that they can be rehired, correct? There's no limitation on the department or anybody hiring them back. They would just have to pay the retirement contributions. Is that the only difference?
They would not. The agency who is hiring them would, and at that 30% or 38% rate. So it's just not conducive to the rehiring of, and again, there is a cap. They can't replace their entire staff with retired officers. So an officer's not going to quit to get rehired to do something different. And there is a cap on the number of rehires that they can hire. I think this has become way more complicated than it needs to be, just because this is a completely separate statute from retirement. They go through the retirement program, they get their benefits. This is just making agencies have another tool in their tool belt to staff with really qualified, devoted individuals who are familiar with the service and all. So get them back to work if they want to.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to move for a motion to adjourn before we have any more questions there. Does anyone want to make that motion? All right. We have motions and seconds. Thank you all so much.